appreciate everybody joining us this afternoon. Our goal is to get through this content in about 30 minutes or less. So let's go ahead and get going. My name is Rob. I'm a Technical Services Director here at Vista IT Group. So quick agenda. We'll do a quick kind of about Vista for our customers that or potential customers that might be new to Vista. We'll cover a little bit about what's new with NetApp. Now, generally speaking, the what's new and kind of the cool things are always covered at the end to make sure that you watch the entire webinar, but we're going to do our customers that are currently running NetApp a little bit of a favor and put that first. So after we go through the what's new with NetApp, we'll do a little bit of a foundational overview about the NetApp, specifically the data OnTap and FAS platforms, and for our customers that are not running NetApp or maybe evaluating NetApp currently. So for existing NetApp customers, that might be a little bit of a refresher for you. So if you want to jump off, please feel free to do so. And then after we cover some of the basics and foundational stuff, we'll leave it open to questions and next steps. So quick about, I guess, kind of definition of Vista. We feel that this is a pretty good descriptor of who we are and what we're doing in the marketplace. So for the folks on the webinar that might be new to Vista, a little bit of kind of Vista by the numbers. We've got a couple of slides here, and then we'll get into the what's new with NetApp content. So we've been around for 32 years. So in that 32 years, we've gained a lot of customers. We've learned a lot about the industry. We've done, in my opinion, a darn good job of staying relevant, which is why we're here 32 years after we first started up. On average, the technical engineers that are here at Vista IT Group that build our systems, do our testing, do our integrations, on average have 13 years of experience. In Vista right now, we're shipping hardware, and we've got customers on 4 continents, and right now we've got over 8,000 customers. So we'll talk about some of our pillars here in just a bit, but if you have a headquarters here in the States and you need to get some gear out to another country, we can take care of all the logistics, the paperwork, to really make it easy to do business. So a few more by the numbers, and in the background you can see a picture of our warehouse. Last year we delivered over 3,000 custom-built servers, and that was within 25,000 orders over the entire year. And a lot of times when we speak with customers, it seems like they knew who we are, especially in the Midwest and in our backyard in Western Michigan. But those numbers hopefully will show some of our customers that might not be doing a majority of their business with us, or those customers or potential customers that are on the line. We do a lot of business. We've got a lot of customers, so we are quite a bit bigger than your kind of typical IT VAR here in the Midwest. We have over 80,000 SKUs of enterprise IT equipment. So that's everything from current generation x86 servers, storage devices, networking devices, all the way back to some legacy equipment that if you're still running some DL380 Gen 7s or Gen 8s and need some components for it, there's a very good chance that we have it in stock, or because of our sourcing relationships, we can get those products pretty quickly. So our core competencies. We've got data center supply chain and technology services. I'm not going to go deep into each of these, but I did want to spend a few minutes here and point out a couple of unique attributes about Vista. So along with being a NetApp Gold partner, we have some unique sourcing relationships with organizations like Cisco and HP. Today we purchase Cisco XS hardware directly from Cisco, and what makes the XS product line unique is it sometimes is current generation. It might be a generation behind, but we have stock of this hardware. it is, while it can't be considered new, it is SmartNet eligible, and it is kind of quote unquote blessed by Cisco. So if you're looking for 3850s, MDS Catalyst, whatever it might be, there's a good chance we have it in stock, or again, we can get it pretty quickly. So only a handful of companies have this customer relationship with Cisco, and in North America, this IT group is the largest Cisco Access customer. So let us know if we can help you out there. In addition to that, we are a HP replacement parts reseller. And in addition to that, we buy new and renew systems from distribution and some of our other strategic partners. So and just to give you a quick example about some inventory items, we're one of the only VARs that still has some of the HP Gen 9 equipment in stock. And again, it's because we try and do a good job of managing our inventory and making sure that our customers who are still running Gen 9 systems and want to procure Gen 9 systems have the ability to do so. So that kind of leads us over to supply chain a little bit. We currently have $5 million in stock of fully configurable, server, storage, and networking devices, and also individual components. So whether it's a new DL3D Gen 10, a Cisco Access 3750, or a DIMM for a generation or two back on a Lenovo X3650, again, there's a very good possibility we're going to have it in stock, or we can get it very quickly. Where we found that this is helpful for our customers is we can turn around accurate pricing same day, if not faster, and also we can fulfill those orders very quickly. So when time is an important factor in getting the IT hardware and solutions in production, we can do a pretty darn good job. So to kind of wrap this up and move into technology services, if you want to match some Cisco Access blades and a blade chassis with some fabric interconnects and MDS switches with a new FAS 8200, we've got the teams to put it all together. We've got pre-sales design services, technical engineers that provide the testing and integration, and also a professional services team that can help with the on-site deployment and migration services. So I'm going to get a quick drink of water here, and we can move on into NetApp What's New. So we're pretty excited about some information that has been coming out about how well NetApp's been doing in the marketplace. We're a NetApp Gold partner. We've been making some pretty significant investments in NetApp over the last year or so, and we feel that some of the market trends are showing that. And not that, let's say, for example, Dell, EMC, or HP don't have good storage platforms. They most certainly do. But NetApp is a storage-focused manufacturer, and I think it really shows. A lot of it, they've got some really great products with great integrations. A lot of their features are very mature and are actual functionalities. Sometimes when you start diving into some of these features that really are kind of shown and presented in marketing, not all those features are actual functionality. And when you kind of dig into NetApp and again, their platforms and integrations, you'll see that that's definitely a differentiator here. They've been around for a very long time, 26 years, founded in 1992. At that time, they were only running file protocols. And in 2002, so now going back 16 years, they introduced block protocols. So when you compare the kind of history and the maturity of the product and the stability compared to some of the newer all-flash startups and kind of the folks that are in acquisition mode, I think there's a lot to be said for an organization that has been around that long and is still innovating. So when we look at 2016, NetApp came out with NVMe over Fiber Channel, so still doing a great job with innovation. So let's talk about some new features. So these really are kind of 9.0-ish and newer. So we'll talk about fabric pools first, and this really, the short of it is the ability to take some of our inactive data and move it out to, let's say, for example, the cloud. So we've got Amazon S3 and Azure Blob Storage, but if you do want a private cloud solution and just something that's a little lower cost and kind of scales, the economics of it scale a little bit different. StorageGrid from NetApp is another target for this. And really what this gives us the ability to do is put our data in the right place for the right cost. So we'll have the ability to keep our more active data on site on that primary kind of high performance storage, and then we can add in these capacity tiers. So there are a number of different use cases for this, and also policies. And a lot of these policies have this idea of cooling time. So how long do we wait for the data to become inactive until we move it down to the capacity tier? So a couple of examples of those policies are snapshot only, but we also do in 9.4, we had auto release, which gives us the ability to actually take parts of a volume that is active and mounted to a system. And if we've got inactive data in that volume, we have the ability to tier it out to an external capacity tier. So some pretty, I guess, again, great mature integrations with cloud, and you'll hear me talk about kind of public cloud and private cloud and flexibility here as we go through these slides. NetApp's been making some very big investments in the cloud over the last 2, 3, 4 years, and I think you're really starting to see it in some of these products that are released and functional today. So let's talk about a few software items. Overall, when we go from 9 to 9.1, 2, and 3, we've got some general improvements in performance and reductions in latency. So if you are on a previous or 2 generations back on some controllers, if you're not up to 9, there are some nice benefits in moving up to 9, depending on what's supported. If you have any questions on that, you can reach out to your account manager and we can get the appropriate resources involved to make sure that everything's compatible and come up with a upgrade strategy for you if you'd like. Got some nice capacity efficiency improvements due to inline and post-process deduplication. So we can use both inline and post-process deduplication together to really reduce that storage footprint as much as possible. So with some other arrays out there, if you do want to do inline deduplication, you've got to have an all-flash array. But depending on the use case, we can do inline deduplication and post-process on a array running some hybrid volumes. So a couple other improvements that right now are only available in the AFF line. So that's the A200, A220, A700, A800 is going to be the fast application provisioning, which you can kind of see a screenshot there on the right, where we have the ability to essentially choose an application. There are a number out there, Oracle, SQL, VMware VDI, things like that, where we can put in fill in the cells, the parameters for our volumes. And number one, it reduces the number of screens that we have to go through. And number two, it's going to, data OnTap is going to set up the volume or volumes in the back end using best practices for the configurations for that particular data type. That and balanced placements are again only available on the all flash lines, and that just gives us the kind of the intelligence when we start running multiple clusters in our fabric, and we do have a choice to put a particular volume. Balanced placements helps give us the information to make the right choice for where that volume is going in the environment. And then also some improvements in quality of service, so that gives us the ability to confidently run production, let's say SQL workloads on the same array on the same disks as test and dev, and we can either prioritize or throttle up some volumes over the other. And lastly here, volume level encryption. Now, this is not encrypting the whole system. We have that ability to use SEDs that are certified for FIPS 140-2 Level 2 with an external key management server. Absolutely, we can do that. But if you have an internal or maybe a customer requirement for data encryption, and maybe it's just on a couple of volumes and not across the entire system, we have the ability to do volume level encryption, and we can store the keys locally on the controllers, so we don't need to incur the kind of expense and complexity to throw encryption into our environment. Continuing with software, we've got Cloud Volumes OnTap, which really is running a kind of virtual appliance of the FAS storage controllers, either in AWS or Azure, and I believe coming soon to GCP. Lots of different use cases for this. We can use it for production, we can use it for replication, we can minimize our cloud footprint with some of the advanced data services like deduplication. So if we do have one of these appliances backed by EBS, we have the ability to use deduplication so that we can reduce that cost on an hourly or monthly basis. Also with OnTap Select, it's great for remote offices. We can do a 2-node configuration where traditionally you might put, if you wanted some more advanced data services like snapshot and replication and backup, you'd have to put a full-blown storage array. Well, now we have the ability to run essentially OnTap as software-defined storage, and serve up volumes to Ethernet volumes to our guest virtual machines or other hosts in the environment, and so that we don't have to deploy a full-blown array. So again, some really nice flexibility, and notice we're talking about OnTap for Cloud Volumes and OnTap Select. Same operating system, a lot of the same features that we're going to get out of a storage array that we would put on site like a FAS 2750 or an 8200. So let's jump into hardware, and this is going to be the last what's new slide here. So some new features, we've got 15 and 30 terabyte drives. Those are gigantic. I can still remember probably as few as 4, 5, 6 years ago, integrating 200 gig SSDs that were $15,000. So 30 terabytes is pretty unbelievable. We've got some new hardware platforms, so 30% performance improvements from their predecessors. So 2750, 2720, A220, and the A800. And we'll focus on the A800 here for just a moment. So that's kind of the big flagship all-flash array. So it's the first array in the industry with end-to-end NVMe. First with 100 gigabit Ethernet, world's fastest all-flash array, 2.5 petabytes in 4U. So not a whole lot of our customers today would have a need to run an array that is that kind of capable and substantial. But what that means for me and our customers in a few years, so our customer today that's running let's say 50 terabytes and 100 terabytes and running more of a traditional application set, in a couple of years, they could be taking care or taking advantage of business intelligence, analytics, machine learning, and those kind of next generation type applications where sub-millisecond, microsecond latencies are required and hundreds of thousands of IOPS in order to make good use of that data. So with NetApp having those technologies out now, and then in a few years, cost comes down, they become more accessible, NetApp's going to be right there being able to provide these services for our customers when they need them. So for those folks that are existing NetApp customers, the next maybe 10 minutes or so will be a kind of a repeat for you. Feel free to stick around, but if you just wanted the what's new, please feel free to hop off. So what's new? I'd like to talk about some foundational things, or excuse me, what's maybe cool, not necessarily new. foundational things that, in my opinion, really makes NetApp cool. So we've got a number of different ways that we can use flash or SSD in a NetApp storage array, specifically the FAS running OnTap. We've got your persistent storage where you've got a number of SSDs, and we can put volumes on those SSDs, and we can run deduplication and compression and all sorts of fun stuff, and it's just persistent storage. We also have the ability to use flash cache and flash pool and persistent SSD storage all in the same system. So there's a little bit of an overlap with flash cache and flash pool, but we do, there are differences. The cool thing, the thing that I really like about flash cache is now it's pretty much, well, it isn't pretty much, it is built into every current generation NetApp array. So it's a PCI card. It's so for example, on the 2750, we've got a terabyte of NVMe cache that is available, and it's essentially an extension of DRAM on the storage controllers to increase our performance. So even if you only put 10K drives in a FAS 2750, you really are getting some of the benefits of going with a hybrid array. When we move over to flash pool, and again, you can put these both in the same system, and data OnTap is intelligent enough to recognize when we've assigned flash pool for a particular volume, it's not going to use flash cache for that same volume. So kind of optimizing how we use flash in the system. These are SSDs, so they are protected by parity on the back end. So it is persistent, but not persistent in the sense that it adds to our overall capacity. It is caching an extension of DRAM for reads. And we also have the ability to cache random overwrites, and that's really great for transactional and random I/O workloads in our environments. So, Waffle. A long time ago, I used to always think that it was a relatively funny name for a file system. I didn't really understand a whole lot about it, but over the last several years, I've become very familiar with the file platform here, and it's Write Anywhere file layout. So without getting too deep in the weeds, what this means to us in reality is we have the ability, we don't have to write the metadata and our data to fixed locations on a hard drive. So that gives us the ability to reduce seek time, and whether we're writing metadata or data onto that hard drive, wherever that hard drive head is and we've got an available spot to write, we're going to write it. So what this does is it offsets some of the write penalties. So we don't necessarily have RAID 6 or RAID 5. We've got what's called RAID DP, which is dual parity, which is similar to RAID 6, and we have RAID Tech, which is triple parity. So again, for those larger drives where we want to ensure a high amount of reliability, we get fast performance, and we also get the capacity efficiencies of a parity protection type versus a mirroring mechanism like RAID 10. So when you combine Waffle and Flash and some of these data efficiencies that we've got here on the chart, to me, where the benefits that our customers get from putting all these things together is we can keep performance high, we can keep our service levels up, we can reduce latency, we can prioritize important volumes, all while really conserving space on the back end, which ultimately reduces footprint, reduces cost, and reduces complexity. So it's really kind of difficult when you look at a NetApp solution to pinpoint one of these technologies, because they all do such a great job of working together to provide a solid storage foundation. So we got 2 more slides here. This is a slide that, in my opinion, everybody's talking about all flash and IoT and machine learning and NVMe and deduplication and all of these things, all of these kind of sexy terms that you hear at events and on webinars and in blogs and at industry conferences. Those are all great, and I think they absolutely provide benefit to customers. But at the end of the day, I'd like to spend a little bit of time on some things that while they're not maybe necessarily the latest and greatest, or things that every kind of marketing person wants to talk about kind of being the next best thing, in my opinion, they are very, very important to kind of the day-to-day operations and care and feeding of a storage environment. So number one, so flexibility in general. NetApp is an incredibly flexible storage platform. A single array can serve multiple protocols, so both file and block, very competitively, and NetApp just does a fantastic job and is industry leading in both protocols. We've got multiple deployment models for essentially the same operating system. So software-defined storage, we've got hardware arrays on the 7250, the 8200, the A800, on and on and on. And we also have the ability to deploy this in the cloud, whether it's in that cloud capacity tier, or we're going to run data OnTap as a virtual appliance in AWS. Multiple arrays can be, so these last three bullet points I think kind of go together. So multiple arrays can be part of the same data fabric to increase capacity and performance. Different generations of arrays can reside on the same fabric to serve I/O to our host servers, and as well as being managed from a single management interface. And also the upgrade path, compared to some of the competitors out there, we've got some arrays out there that if you buy a generation 4, let's say example array, you get the generation 4 features, you get the generation 4 controllers, you get the generation 4 hard drives. And if you want that, if a 15 terabyte drive isn't offered in generation 4, well, you're kind of out of luck. You're going to need to move up to the generation 5 array in order to use that drive. NetApp does a fantastic job of looking at the whole picture and understanding that where it makes sense, having the ability to reuse enclosures, reuse controllers, reuse drives, and really extending the compatibility between generations. And we'll move into the last slide here, kind of putting it all together. So that gives us the ability to scale out, so mix and match hybrid, all flash, and even next generation SSD arrays, and do some great things with the cloud. We can scale up by adding additional drives and enclosures to arrays. We've got a wide range of arrays that we can take a look at, and incorporating software-defined cloud and future generation flash, like I mentioned. So if you are on the webinar and have not run NetApp, or have not seen a demo, or have not taken a look at how it might fit into your environment and what kind of technology and business issues it might be able to address, I'd really encourage you to reach out to your Vista account manager and set up a call with me or another one of our engineers to talk about next steps.